What up, though, everybody? This is the Pop Culture. This the Pop Culture 223 podcast. This is episode 4. I got my homeboy back, the Bear. He was gone last episode. I'll give him a couple buckshots. Oh, he got some claps. They working good.
They working right now.
They working good today.
What up, though?
I got my boy Chad here. I want him to introduce himself, man. He got a lot of titles. I thought I was gonna be able to say them all, but I'm gonna let him introduce himself, man. Go ahead, Chad.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm Chad King. I'm the co-founder and current president of the Black Bottom Gun Club, which is a chapter of the National African American Gun Association here in Detroit. I'm also the regional director for the Midwest with the National African American Gun Association as well, and the chief instructor, owner-operator of Apex Defense Solutions, LLC.
I had to wait, man. I ain't want to jump the gun. I hit him with the claps too soon.
He had a
man.
whole paragraph of accomplishments.
I mean,
Mine's is short.
titles. I mean, all that matters is getting the work done. That's all.
This man, he sound like what was my man in Rocky?
Ooh, the old
Apollo Creed. How he had the Master Disaster, King of Sting, and the Mean
Green.
Yeah,
he got all that, man.
That's what's up.
I'm glad I reached out to him, man. This is gonna be a great podcast. Like, this is episode 4, I think, of the Pop Culture 223 podcast, and we all about bringing game to the ones that need it and training the ones that want it. As far as education, we've been on the education tip for a minute. I love the education tip, but look, I got a rant, man. So look, this is me. I'm going to apologize to my mama. I'm going to apologize to my grandma, right? The ancestors. Look, I was in Walgreens the other day, right? I'm grabbing some stuff. I get in line. I'm 2 people back. Grandma up front trying to check out.
Okay.
You know, they give them these new credit cards, right, with the tap, right? So she trying to pay for all her stuff. You know, at Walgreens, they want you to put your phone number in to get your code and all this and all that.
Right.
So one, she don't remember her phone number. So she trying to figure that out. Then she put the card in. The lady said, no, you can tap it. Why she take the card out and tap the chip? She take the card out and tap the chip. And the lady that was in front of me looked at me. I just turned around and say, hey. I was just like, hey, man, I was... since COVID, man, sometimes I be out in places and I'm just like, man, I should just order stuff online.
Did she finally get it together?
She did. She was just like, I can't take this. This is, all this new technology. But I'm like, Grandma, it's a tap. You tap and walk away. You don't take the chip. You don't take the card out and tap the chip.
Right.
It ain't a garage door opener.
Right.
So, hey, man, that's my little rant, man. But like I said, we're here today with Chad, man. I want to get into some stuff. So I'm going to tell you, well, this is background, right? So he's the president of the Black Bottom Gun Club. How long has when did the Black Bottom Gun Club come up? How long has it been here?
Black Bottom Gun Club has been around since July of 2017.
Okay.
Started by myself and Kofi Kenyatta.
Right.
As a result of just a couple of different conversations with the president and vice president of the National African American Gun Association, Phil Smith and Doug Jefferson. A couple of different conversations with them after seeing events that was happening from 2014 to 2017. And it was one of those things where we were trying to find a space for the black gun owner, right? Where we could, commune, fellowship, all of that stuff. And really around here, that wasn't really a thing.
Right.
Right.
We kind of talked about that previously too.
Yeah. It wasn't really a thing that we could see, like that was out there like that. So, we started looking around for other organizations and all of that. And we saw the National African American Gun Association. I'm like, oh, it's an actual black, like for real, a large black gun organization. That. So we reached out, had some conversations like, what would it mean to start a chapter in Detroit? And from there we began having conversations, up until, I want to say we started those conversations in April or May of 2017. July, on the 14th, here we are, July 14th, 2017.
Now, how long has the NAGA been around?
National African American Gun Association has been, National African American Gun Association has been around.
Twister.
Right. So the National African American Gun Association has been around since February 28th of 2015. It was started, it was started by Philip Smith in Georgia. That was the first chapter in there, and then they grew from there to all across the country.
Okay.
So they got nice little membership.
It's about 40 to 50,000 members across the country, and about a little bit over 100 chapters across the country.
Pretty good. That's good.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, we always talk. When I didn't even know it was a thing, I thought it was just the NRA. But when I seen the National African American Gun Association, I was like, okay. I looked into it, and I think I signed up. No, I think I signed up through Black Bottom Gun Club. Because once you sign up through Black Bottom Gun Club, then you become a member of NAGA, or how?
So you sign up through the national website, and then you can become a member of our local chapter.
Our local chapter.
Yeah.
Okay. So when y'all seen that, when you and Coffee was talking, like, what was the journey? Like, look, how are we going to implement this in the city of Detroit? Like, how are we going to get started? Or
so, like, honestly, man, it kind of came as a result of anger, right? Because we had started seeing other organizations, national organizations, put out advertisements and stuff in the news or whatever. And that's when, at one point, he renounced his certification with an organization. I wasn't an instructor yet. Or I'm sorry, not certification, his membership with the organization. I wasn't an instructor yet, and I know that he was at the time. And it was one of those things where we saw what they was doing, and we knew that it wasn't for us. And so we looked at it like, all right, how can we be in this space but make it welcoming for other people that look like us and have similar ideology, similar history, all of that kind of stuff, right? Because just keeping it a buck, a lot of the quote unquote larger, broader 2A community, people talk about it like it's a community, but then you got gatekeepers that say that, well, if you don't believe the things that we do about this other stuff that has nothing to do with the Second Amendment per se, then you can't be a part of what we're doing, or you need to be taxed more, pay more, or you should give up your guns and all of that kind of stupid stuff, right? So for us, it was one of those things where, you can have these different, beliefs, systems, ideologies, different backgrounds, or what have you. But as long as you are aligned with the values of who we are and what we about, then come through.
That's what's up.
Yeah. Like I said, and but see, in the city, I guess when I looked at it, I was just like, okay, if you compare it to like Atlanta, somewhere south, they get more participation from us. In the, like, I don't want to say like in the South is in Atlanta. Let's just say Atlanta. I don't want to say like the neighborhoods, but it seems like they get more participation if they out there shooting. Like Detroit, you come here, I be like, okay, they got this club. It's a gun club. How are our people gonna look at it? Like, what are they gonna say? Is it gonna be like, oh, this like my auntie, oh, you Action Jackson? You know what I'm saying? Y'all out there shooting, doing whatever. But how they gonna look at a gun club that's positive, they're doing stuff in the community, that, helping educate? Like, how is the city of Detroit gonna look at that? And like, everybody say they want to shoot. Everybody want a club or something to be a part of. Why not come out and be a part of the Black Bottom Gun Club? You know what I'm saying? So I like, how like in the city, is it hard to get people to come join to the Black Bottom Gun Club? I'm gonna say this. It's funny. Like, I was at the gun store years back. Dude came up to me, tapped me. Hey, you part of the Black Bottom Gun Club? I'm like, bro, what? I'm like, and this is like when before
society stuff, right?
I'm like, I know. But by this time, me and Chad already talked. I kicked it with Chad. I owe Chad a shirt to this day. I ain't forgot, Chad.
Damn.
I ain't forgot about that shirt, bro. Listen, I
forgot about that.
Nah, man, I owe him a shirt. But I was like, man, I know Chad. I was like, I know about the Black Gun and Gun Club, but it's the fact he whispered it. Like, hey, you part of the Black Bottom Gun Club? I don't care where we at. Yeah. No? Okay, let's join. You know what I'm saying? But like, why are we whispering about it? Why is it a secret? Like, we in the city? We in Detroit. What? This is our city.
What's so anonymous about it or secret about it? Yeah.
You're part of the Black Bottom Gun Club. What's the handshake?
Hey,
you can't have no high points.
KJ, you should have been like, I am.
I am.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'll say this. The challenge within, if you're looking at Detroit as like the city proper, the challenge is that there is really no place to train inside the city limits, right? And when you take that fact that people inside the city have to go outside of the city, right? And public transportation is not the best to be able to get to some of those places, right? Then it is a challenge in that regard, right? But at the same time, I do think that the response overall has been positive for our gun club, particularly as it relates to the community service stuff, right?
Okay.
When we host events where we are teaching kids, firearm safety, and shout out to the Safe and Secure Project with Malik Hicks and Spencer Johnson as well, and other members of the Black Bottom Gun Club. When we doing events like that, or when we take boxes of gun locks and literature and literally guerrilla drop into a corner like Greenfield and Joy Road and walk around and pass out locks and literature, and go to businesses, bars, salons, shops, laundromats, hit people at the crosswalk or intersection. When people see us doing that kind of stuff, then the response is generally positive. And then people hear about it and they talk about it, and you might see the literature with our logo on, and then it's this expansive process where it just spreads to the point where we catch sometimes the attention. It's not attention, excuse me.
Yeah, you said it. Yeah, you said it.
Right.
That's a good one.
That's a real good one. Titties. But when we catch the attention of city council members, right? Back in November, Kofi and I, we did a firearm safety and legal presentation for his district, the D1 Can.
Okay.
So we do stuff with Councilman Pro Tem James Tate a lot as well, right? We do things with different ranges where we teach the kids safety stuff. We go into neighborhoods just directly on our own and drop stuff off. We will, work with different schools throughout the city of Detroit, and either virtually or in person have conversations about firearm safety. We just did something on the 28th at Detroit Lions Academy on the east side, where we talked to this program called, it was a program called Motivating Moms, and we were talking to them about firearm safety and locking guns up and dealing with,
I think I saw that on the gram,
yeah, doing the mental health component and all of that kind of stuff, right? So we do those things in a community, but we also get busy with training too, right? And so the flashpoint or that nexus point is, what does it mean when you begin seeing Black people who own guns doing this kind of work in the community to improve the community or better the community, or to help become these conduits to individuals in the community to their own empowerment, right? When you see that and then say, oh, they get busy on the range too, so the response, it's generally been positive, but at the same time, it's still, to your point, kind of an unknown quantity in a lot of ways, right? Because people will say, we're part of the Black Bottom Gun Club. They're like, what's that? National African American Gun Association. Word? You know what I'm saying? It's still...
Y'all part of the NRA?
Yeah, we still get stuff like that, or we part of the NRA. And just for the record, the National African American Gun Association is totally independent of any other organization out there, period.
That's
full
what's
stop.
up.
Right.
Now, I don't mean to cut you off, man, but let me ask you this, because it goes along with what he stated, just using Atlanta as a reference and what we've been talking about this whole conversation. So when you look at, I think the difference in what kind of makes it easier for them down south, that's in my opinion, a hindrance for the city, is that everything here is so close. And I think if you ever been out west as well, I think Atlanta is more or less like kind of how like New York or how Los Angeles is, where Atlanta's the city, but there's so many other suburbs that are even, 10, 15, even probably almost 20 miles out that almost get considered as quote unquote Atlanta. And because of that, that's where you got more land and stuff to be able to do, where everything here is so compact and it's all right here. It's almost like what was supposed to happen, if a lot of people know the history and don't know the history, with some of these other surrounding cities that were supposed to have been absorbed but never did. Like Southfield was actually supposed to be a part of Detroit. Oak Park was supposed to, years ago been absorbed. It's a lot of them Oakland County cities and like bordering Wayne County cities like Livonia and Redford and stuff that were supposed to be absorbed to make Detroit bigger like that and on that type of grander scale. Do you think that that's impacting that as well? And how can we, I don't want to say get around that, but make an adjustment to that to have the same effect like they do with shooters in Atlanta or, Georgia, Dallas or places like that?
So I think that you're right in that geography plays an important role, but I also think that there's a lot of cultural differences there as well, right? Because when you look at the Great Migration historically, right, and the people who stay in Atlanta, they still had to deal with the active variations and active oppression in a way that wasn't necessarily in the North. And that's not to discount what was happening in the North, right? Because it was still violent racists up here too.
Right.
But down there, it was definitely a little bit more pronounced.
Right.
And
because more open.
Yeah, and because it was so pronounced and more open down there, then gun culture among black folks was really, really a thing.
Right.
Right. Up here, people were coming to the north to kind of get away from that extreme racist violence.
Right.
And we had to essentially deal with the subtle racism. Right. Again, not as pronounced, but still here. And so when you have that culture shift and this idea that you don't have to deal with the Klan burning your house down like you would have had to do in Georgia or other places in the South, it's a couple of things. Number one, it shows how much racism that you willing to tolerate, right? Which, all right, that's a thing. I'm not begrudging any of the ancestors who came up to tolerate less racism, but still tolerate it, right? Not begrudging them at all. But I think at some point you lose some of that cultural richness when you have to go to a different place and assimilate, right? And so I think what has happened here in in a lot of northern cities is that cultural richness was lost to assimilation based on where we was at, right? And so to your point about the geography and how the different cities broke off, understand a lot of those cities broke off as a response to the growing black population in Detroit, right? So let's not, again, that's part of that racist legacy as well that we can talk about and kind of see that for what it is. And so how we can use it, we can look at that information from a historic perspective and how do we use that today to impact the black gun owner or bring more black gun owners into the fold up here? I think part of that is the education on that history, number one. And I think through the education on that history, what you'll ultimately end up seeing is the fact that the education on that history is what you'll find out is that a lot of people don't know that history, right? And because they don't know that history and they get exposed to that history, it's almost like a catalyst or something that's sparking in their head.
That sparks like the dream or whatever.
Like, yo, this is something that I can do because we've done it before, right? So you essentially make it more accessible to them through that history, number one. Number two, you can show them, with the different, not just accessible through the history, but accessible through fellowship.
Yep.
Right. That's the other piece because they see you doing it, and so they feel like they can do it too.
Yep.
Right. Like within the Black Bottom Gun Club, we got some of everybody in our club. Right. We got IT professionals, we got engineers, we got lawyers, we got doctors, we got people in news media. Right. We got electricians, we got security professionals, we got insurance professionals, we got anything you can think of as a career that's in this country. Our club has some of that, and so
it's a diversity.
Yeah, and so and that's the beauty of the diversity of blackness because we all throughout this thing, right? And particularly within the gun club, we all through any type of field of endeavor you can think of, whether it's blue collar, white collar, executive, or professional, right? We're all a part of that, but we got that thing in common of that kind of shared history and our affinity towards letting rounds down range.
So I'm gonna double back a little bit. That boy good. That boy Chad good.
Boy good.
I just like I said, double back on the education, especially with the kids. For me, and I know you know, I was a co-creator of Erica's Big Day book. It seems like it's been hard for me to try to bridge that gap with the kid, and bridge that gatekeeper with the schools. Because for me, it seemed like the moment they say, "Oh, it's a education about teaching kids how to be safe around firearms." We say firearms, they hear gun, and it's like, choop, they cut off, or it's like, "Oh, let me get you with such and such," and then it's pushed back. Then let me get you with such and such, then it's pushed back, and I'm just like, man, it get disheartening because it's like, okay, I got this education, I'm passionate about it, but how do I get it? How do I get it out there in the schools, or you know what I'm saying, or just because we got curriculum, and like I said, what the Black Bottom Gun Club was doing, like just to try to get it, like what advice you got?
So the biggest thing is a lot of that stuff definitely does come down to networking and who you know, right? A lot of for us, what worked out is that we used to have and we have members who work in the school district, whether it's at the district level or at a school, right? And so we bring them in and they see the value of what we're doing as a club when we talking about doing these free safety lessons or very, very inexpensive safety lessons for kids, right? So they see that stuff and they become a part of it, whether they volunteer to help out on the range or volunteer to help craft and design what the curriculum looks like.
Now these, I didn't mean to cut you off, but these like we talking like educators, like teachers, or are you talking about parents or?
It's teachers and administrators.
Okay.
Teachers, administrators, vice principals, all of that.
That's what's up.
We got some of all of that in our gun club. And so when you have folks like that in the gun club that, you know, see the value of what you're doing because they become a part of it, I don't want to say bought in because we're not selling anything, right? But they have that buy-in, right? Because they see the value of what it is. Then they share it with their peers in the workforce, right? Or they say, you know what? I wonder if I could talk to X, Y, and Z about if we can get this at this place, right? That's how we got in with the Detroit Lions Academy. That's how we got in with a couple of different schools or whatever over the past couple of years to kind of teach this stuff and present this material and the safety stuff to folks. So it's definitely about who you know, but that's only going to go so far, right? Because the who you know has to be backed up and substantiated by the work you're doing and the work you're putting out there before you even meet anybody. So that's kind of where that would be my advice. And particularly with your books, man, I mean, we should have been had conversations so that we could make that as part of what we do with our Safe and Secure project, right? Because we do that probably once a quarter. I got some dates scheduled right now. My next one is in April. Safe and Secure project, I believe it is. It's tentatively scheduled for like April 12th or something like that. So, I mean, we could definitely bring you in.
Well, we here now. We talking about it. We going to get it popping.
Right. That's something we can bring in and have
man, we need some more books, man. I need a couple.
And have you,
put
you know,
around here, man.
bring those books in, you know, for the kids, and have those available at that event. So,
man, these ain't dollar store books, man. We got to buy these a couple $1,000s in books, man. We got to. I got to talk to my man Ron, the EDC guy. We're gonna try to definitely make something happen. But to fast forward to a little bit, I want to ask this question. Now I seen this on it was on Vice. Do you think like in the city that some people that don't want to join the Black Bottom Gun Club because they may be like, oh, the black may get targeted by, you know what I'm saying, the other side, or because I seen something on it was on Vice. The guy got arrested because he was part of the guerrilla approach. Was it
Black Guerrilla Mainframe?
Yeah. Black Guerrilla Mainframe.
Yeah.
He got the FBI came knocking on his door because he said he was a terrorist group. Do you listen? Black Bottom Gun Club is not a terrorist group. We're not nowhere close, none of that. But just being because it's a black group about guns, about education, do you think people sometimes get scared of joining, thinking that it was gonna get labeled as something that it's not?
Well, so let's dial this in a little bit, right? So the dude's name, I think his name was Rakeem Balagoon or whatever, right? Out of Houston, or I think it was. And so this group he was a part of, Black Guerrilla Mainframe. This is around the time where the FBI came up with that ridiculous term, Black Identity Extremist.
I knew you was gonna come up with the word. I didn't.
And so essentially, when that report came out about what they defined as a Black Identity Extremist, it was the craziest thing that I ever heard in my life, because they were basically saying that if you have an affinity and a love for Black people, and you have a slant towards the liberation of Black people, free from oppression, and essentially, if your thought process is that Black people are as American, if not more American, than some of these people who call themselves American. Right. Oh, you're anti-government. Right. That was kind of like the mind state, right? Oh, you got guns too? You really anti-government. You can't be too American. Right. You can't be too American. Otherwise, you anti-us, which is absolutely mind-boggling to me. So when you look at that, that was something for me that I kind of celebrated, right? Not that he got arrested and was put on trial and all that, but this whole title, I kind of celebrated like in a, sarcastic, like, oh, bet I'm a Black Identity Extremist in that case. Right. And so to answer your question though, if people are concerned about being labeled as such or being, seen as, racist. Somebody asked me one day, like, what if there was a white bottom gun club? Like literally,
you know what? I saw that. I saw that.
See that, right?
That was a while.
That was a while ago.
That was a while ago. That was wild. I'm like, come on, man. Are you serious?
Like, first of all, you're expressing your ignorance in full view of everybody in the world right now because you don't have a historic understanding of that neighborhood and the community of this other city, right? But secondly, it further shows just how far-reaching people are with their twisted ideology about what it is to be black and what blackness is. So to answer the question about why people might feel targeted or if they feel hesitation.
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 Probably a better word.
If they feel hesitation to join in our gun club, I'm sure that for some people that is part of the reason, right? Because you still have a lot of people say that, oh, if black people start getting guns, then it's gonna get we gonna get all the gun control we want, right? So that mindset of that internalized racism or fear of being subject to racism, which is still in a way internalized racism, right? Because you're afraid of participating in an activity or a group that has blackness on full display. When you have that mindset, then people are going to be apprehensive and hesitant to join an organization that is proudly pro-black, that is proudly, supportive of gun ownership among black folks, right? But what I would advise them to do is just look us up, see the type of things that we do in the community, right? Beyond the gun stuff. But then you can see the gun stuff that we do too. I'll just be honest. We're always a gun club first, right? So we do train and shoot and practice,
right?
But in a way, we're a community service organization as well, because while we're doing this thing, that is your absolute fundamental right. We also want to make sure that you are responsible and you are safe and you are educated with it. So it's not just, oh, we want guns and F the man and da 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 da. It ain't just that. Nah, this is like my man and Captain Phillips. Hey, look at me. I'm the captain now. Now this is our right too now, right? And so, people might be hesitant or apprehensive. I would just advise folks who are hesitant and apprehensive that you don't have to be, right? Because this is a space that's welcoming for you, right? And we might have disagreements, but we aren't disagreeable, right? And we welcome the dialogue and we welcome the conversation.
So everything's a conversation. Let's get straightening. They say let's get straightening.
We're good with that.
And
let's talk about it.
That's another thing about like everybody. Look, this is the part of Pop Culture 2-3 podcast that we're trying to get game, right? So please go share, repost, so the message can get out there. And that's another thing I like. I call myself part of the Black Bottom Gun Club in Naga, but I don't think I renewed my membership yet.
You gotta get on deck, bro.
So, but even it's a members feed, but in that members feed, Chad, I want you to talk about a little bit. Chad gives a lot of education about legislation, rules. I mean, things that's coming down the pipe that the average gun person, okay, you get your CPL license, right? And you think that's it. But that ain't it. You know what I'm saying? It's okay, you go shoot. They tell you oh, you need to train something. But you need to also need to know the laws and things you can and can't do and other things that's coming down the pipe that may affect the average gun owner, right? So in that feed, the Black Bottom Gun Club feed, it's a lot of legislation, a lot of things he educates about what's going on. And that's a thing I like because I want to say every couple of days is something.
Seems like it's something that's
some document that Chad posting it on the feed, and I'm just like, man, they left and right, especially now with all this other craziness going on. They definitely coming after it. So just talk about the things that you put in there and some the things you put in there that people may miss and about the education, about the legislation, the different things that's going on.
Yeah, for sure. So within the context of the gun club and the outreach and finding out what the legislations and laws are. So to be clear, part of this comes from the fact that because I'm in the gun club or the co-founder of it, I get access or invited to other tables, right? Because of my position and having this quote unquote, pro-gun slant, so to speak. But I'm also pro-people. Right. And so being in that spot, it gets me access or grants me access to different people, different tables to have conversations with, right? And so when things are happening, whether it's a draft of a legislation, and I get it, and I get to provide feedback on what that is, like, hey, take this out, change this. Nah, we can't support this on no level whatsoever.
Right.
And I'm able to send that stuff up, right? So when I get drafts of stuff, or when I find out some stuff is coming, I'm absolutely immediately gonna share it with the members of the gun club, because I believe that, number one, I don't want to be a hoarder of information. Number one. Number two, if I'm finding out about this and I don't let y'all know before it happens, and I'm not doing my job as the chapter president of this organization, I'm not doing I'm not handling my responsibility as a leader, right? Because my responsibility as a leader is not just to hold on to power, but share information so that you can be empowered.
There we go.
right? So relative to the legislation stuff, I get stuff like that every week when something is happening, whether it's at a federal level or at a state level, and I do my best to try to share it. I read it, try to analyze it, share the information, all of that stuff, just so that the people around me in that sphere of influence have that same information, so they can let other people know what's happening, what's going on. These are the changes. Because to your point, you're right. Being a concealed pistol license holder, as y'all know, comes with a hell of a lot of responsibility.
A lot of
And
responsibility.
oftentimes you are held more responsible under the law than law enforcement officers.
Yes, you are.
Right? So as a CPL holder as a CPL instructor, I feel like it's my responsibility when I get some information, share that.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't want nobody to be an accidental criminal if you can avoid it.
Right.
Right?
And I know that I don't know, it was 2 episodes ago when he was talking about what was going on in Oakland County about the just driving with the firearms in the car,
Yeah.
or and I guess I was asking myself, when you leave a CPL class, a respectable certified instructor that giving you game, like they're not telling you, they're not really talking about how to transport or be with this firearm, or they just, look, I want to get my recommended shots in with these students and just get them in and get them out because I only got the room for 2 hours, 3 hours, and they just rushing through the education. And I'm not, okay, so I see your face. I'm not trying to pull out instructor, but me and the bear were just kicking, like, they not, okay, he's a CPL instructor, you're a CPL instructor, I'm a CPL instructor. Y'all probably taught more people than I teach because I'm more of a gun enthusiast. I like to shoot. So my time is more on the range, training and shooting. Y'all community probably trained and taught more students than I have. So I'm just talking about from y'all perspective, because I'm just like, I know, especially on USCCA curriculum, it talks about this. And I know that the background that y'all guys have, that what y'all going to tell these students, especially outside experience. So, like, that's not happening? Like, people just, when they leave that door and shut it and it just closed and they gone, they forget about it?
So let me start that, and I'm going to let you take it home with it. Just from personal experience, I've had a lot of people that literally ask about it before I even get to that part. So the knowledge is coming there from source anyway, because it's like if it's 5 of us in the room, one person asked, I'm glad you asked that. I was going to get to that later, but since you on it and we got a quick minute, blah, 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 and, shoot it off and talk about it. Or like you said, I tell them from personal experience, driving to D.C. or driving to Virginia, and tell them about how I have before I even cross into that Maryland border. When I get to the edge of Pennsylvania, I pull over, I take everything apart, lock it up, put it in the trunk. When I get on the other side of Maryland, actually get to Virginia, then I'm stopping again, then I'm pulling, and going through the process. I've only had that happen, but outside of somebody bringing it as a question, of course, I do go through it, but that's from, again, like you said, my personal experience. But I have heard of, like you said, instructors not saying nothing or not.
I just thought it was crazy that Chad had to reinforce some of that information. That's just me. And I was just, remember I told you, I was like, man, we got to go over this?
You'd be surprised, though.
But go ahead.
Nah, and to that point, it's one of those things where if you an instructor that's worth your salt, that's something you're going to teach your student, right? And you're going to put some emphasis on what that is, what it looks like, and what it means. And if you're not doing that as an instructor, then you're doing malpractice to your students, 100%. In my opinion, right? Because you setting them up to be accidental criminals. Let's be clear. There is a saturation of instructors, CPL instructors in the Southeast Michigan, right? Let's be absolutely clear on that, right?
Heavy.
It's a bunch of them.
Heavy.
And I'm not saying that all of them are bad, but I'll just say this. All of them don't put in the effort to make sure that their students are as educated as they should be before they leave that class, right?
100% agree.
And again, I'm not disparaging any one person, but it's a thing out there because I've had students of other instructors come to me after they see me put a video or after they see me on the news or something, right? And they'll call me or shoot me an email or message me some kind of way. Like, hey, I took this class, but I didn't learn about X, Y, and Z.
That's malpractice. Keep going.
No, I mean it's malpractice at a minimum.
Right.
So here's the way I look at it and take it too, because I've had to add to what we're saying. I've been on the range teaching a class before, and this was actually I don't want to say pre-COVID because this is probably when COVID was first, starting before they shut everything down. So mid to we'll say probably this time of year, 2020, though, 3 years ago. I remember being on the range, two ladies, mother and daughter-in-law, and we went through the class part. We did all that. We at the range, we're shooting, and I just remember literally being done with them or halfway, almost done with them, and it's two ladies next to me that was getting instruction from another instructor. And I don't know if they were actually at the facility. I'm not going to put the facility on blast, but I couldn't tell if it was from another facility or just another independent instructor. But I just remember literally after dude walked away, the other two ladies literally watched the people I was instructing say, "Hey, you got a card?" So it's like you kind of whether we teach, we can teach our own students this, but the proof is in the pudding. When you can go somewhere else and there's somebody that's either in training or is looking at training, can look at what you're doing with your students and say, "Damn, we didn't learn that," or our targets don't look like that, and why didn't he talk about? Because of course, when you're on the range, it's not just okay, pull out, shoot, boom, boom, boom. I'm coaching you through. You know what I mean? Because like I tell people all the time, I could teach the classroom part to a monkey if you give me enough time to let them learn that. Where I like to shine is on the range to teach you the proper techniques and everything else. Yeah, I'm gonna hit home what I need to hit home. That's in the classroom. But again, I could teach you, and Chad, I'm sure you know this. I could tell you whatever's in the classroom, and it's just verbatim and talk. But if you don't, at the same time, just as much know how to shoot, then you just squeezing the trigger, and then you still leaving yourself out here to be negligent and to some degree because they just willy-nilly shooting.
See, and then here's another thing. Hey, how much your class? 110. Oh man, my homie do it for $50.
Right.
So, and like you said, it's a saturation of it, and like I said, it's kind of like, okay, they got to go through the $50 and then pay us $110 to get the right information, opposed to just like. And this is another question: how important is like the virtual resume to like students that's looking to get some education from you? Meaning like the virtual resume in like TikTok or Instagram or Facebook to see what you're doing, see what you got, see what you offer, so they can compare it to other instructors and say, okay, I see what he's doing here. All right, he may be cool, especially even with women. When it comes, they may say, okay, he's too aggressive, or he's, something may like, oh, they may look at it and say, okay, that's not for me. How important is that visual to them as far as being on like the visual resume, the social media resume?
For me, I've been, and you could probably speak to this part more than I can. Mine have been more so referral, and I probably have done more women than I have men, and it's literally one of those. A lot of us, I won't say we know how women are. Trust me, I'm not putting that out there like that, but just people in general, but mainly women. If it's something they're comfortable with, they'll recommend you to other people. Like, girl, he was cool. He did that. He blah, 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 whatever. And that's how I've gotten more referrals that way from that. For me personally, I think the social media is just a small percent, maybe 20% for everything.
But today is a different world.
That's smaller for me. I know Chad's a little bigger, so I'm guessing that would probably be a lot bigger of a percentage or an amount for you as far as the visual.
I would say, so when I shoot, I don't always record myself shooting. Right? I don't always record myself shooting and all of that stuff, right? I don't record myself in training sessions a lot. I'm starting to do that a lot more now because I'm.
Yeah, you said that. You like, I'm about to be out here more.
Because I'm beginning to see the value in doing so, right? But a lot of my students who come to my classes are from referrals. Okay, like Barry, my stuff is word of mouth referrals. Not only that, but also I get a lot of times. So you got shoppers, right? You got CPL students who are shoppers. When I say shoppers, I mean they do a Google search, right? And they will call a bunch of people on, those first few people or whatever, right? And see what those responses are. I get a lot of people from those types of calls, like cold calls, because when I have that phone call, I interact with them just like they're a student already.
Right.
I interact with them by answering all of the questions that they might have about, even if it's I'm not an attorney, so I don't answer legal questions, but I can point them to what the law says in terms of what the MCL statute is. Here's where you can find that information at. I can't give you a legal answer, but here's where you can find that information.
That what if?
Yeah. the whole what if game, right? I said, I can't give you that answer, but here's where you can find the statute that might apply to that, right? But what other questions do you have while I got you on the phone before you sign up for the class? And I always say, what other question do you have before you sign up for the class? Assume they're going to do it. And then next thing you know, like 20 minutes later, I get the notification that this person signed up for the class.
Yep.
Right.
I've had that happen.
So somebody call you 6 in the morning.
6:30 in the morning, baby girl called me. I'm looking like, who is, what? But I'm on the way to work. But again, it was like you said, okay, so this is what it is. This is what we do. This is what we cover, blah, 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 blah. And like you said, literally like 45 minutes later, if that, I got the notification. Boom, I got it.
Because, I get, I ain't gonna say I get a lot, but people call out, okay, well, next time you having a class, and I'm like, well, I give them the email, the thing, and I'm like, well, we can, there's other things we can do, but I was like, I can turn you on to such and such, I can turn you on to such and such. But then I'm like, well, what happened? Oh, I hit my man up, I'm like, as soon as I hit my man up, I'm like, I already know what that was. All right, so what else you doing today? You know what I'm saying?
And
so
I think a part of that, though, man, is you got to be able to create value for the people who going to be in your class, right? More than just that block of time.
Yep.
Right. So one of the things I have for every student of mine, when you take my CPL class, you get a perpetual discount on any other class that I offer, like for defensive shooting and intro to defensive shooting, defensive carry concepts, performance shooting, all of that kind of stuff.
That's what's up.
You get a perpetual discount for that, number one. Number two, when you take a CPL class, I give you an email to a list of a bunch of links where you get 5-10% off, whether it's holsters or whatever the case is, right? Number three, if you take my CPL class, you get a free drop-in jiu-jitsu lesson from my guy, Sean Davis. Right?
I need that.
I was about to say I need that too.
So
we gonna take a quick little class with Chad.
So
we got a free class coming through.
So you get a drop-in lesson there, right? And that's including eye and ear protection, lunch or whatever. I pay for lunch in my classes, the perpetual discount, all of that kind of stuff. So what I'm saying is, your price could be your price, no waiver from your price, but increase the value for the people that's going to take your class.
Right.
And when they see the value in what you're doing, then the social media is cool, but you get a lot of new people from word of mouth.
I just found myself CPL instructor, like I said, more gun enthusiast. I just kind of find myself liking to make content. My creative mindset, my beautiful mind, and low key, Chad just did his little advertising drop. I didn't even ask him to do it. I was going to do it anyway, but he talked about Apex Defense classes, everything you offer, because I was going to talk about that. Like the idea, did you have the idea of Apex Defense before you became a CPL instructor, or was that just kind of like all rolled into one?
It was kind of like, as I was thinking about, should I do this or what, right? And the reason behind that was partially because, all right, I'm seeing other people doing it, and my class was a class of like 50 people, right? And so I couldn't get a question in edgewise when I had my CPL class, right? So I'm like, all right, maybe if I'm an instructor, I can reduce that ratio so I can answer people's questions instead of, leaving them to rely on using YouTube and Google.
Right.
Let's get it in the class. So that was part of it. The other part of it was, within the context of the gun club, if I want to be able to have the information to teach people in the gun club, then all right, let me get credentialed in at least one of these organizations or disciplines or what have you, so I could offer that either at a discount or free or whatever the case may be as well.
Because like even with the Bear, he does CPL class, but then he offers the advanced classes, under his company. And then I see that you do the CPL classes, and then you got the Apex Defense training. So I'm like, okay, that's just me telling me that visually, the education and mindset is beyond the traditional CPL class, kind of like doctrine, so to speak. It's not, you didn't take what they gave you and say, I'm just going to teach this, but you shoot IDPA, you train, you go do the practice. So it's more advanced stuff out there that the students need to know. And then even with you, y'all know there's more stuff out there that students need to know. And that's kudos to y'all, man, for even having it and offering it. Because I tell people, look, you want to take a CPL class, get your credentials, but go to somebody else to get a better education of what this platform is. And I'm like, okay, well, go to Chad, what he does. Go to I can say that, you know what I'm saying. But they already know, Apex need the defense training. But like I said, like kudos for y'all for even offering that and keep giving that education to the people, man.
And that, but that's why I wanted to, and I started training more with you on and the filming thing is cool, the more, because I'm with that too, and wanted to be able to do more out and just be in a booth in a range and shooting and blah, blah, blah. But having the more tactical training, there's more real life scenario training that that we get to do, and then running with acts and everything. I wanted to do that to bring my game up as well. To bring it, and that's been my whole thing. Everything I learned, I may not give them all the bread and butter, but I'm literally giving them, the majority of what I learned.
Well, that's a value add for your students, right?
That's what I'm saying.
When you invest in the training for yourself, that's something you can pass off. Exactly. You're not going to pass off the whole thing, but that's a value add to your students because you can speak from that level of experience that another instructor might not have. Mm-hmm. Like it's people who I took my
So you're saying it's a difference between a CPL instructor and
a teacher. It's a difference between an instructor and a teacher.
Big time.
Right? Because a teacher is going to invest in themselves so they can invest in their students.
Hey, man, hit that. Come on.
All right.
Okay.
There we go.
There you go.
We get a couple of them shots right there. But no, that's what I'm saying, because when I decided I wanted to do more advanced classes dealing with movement, drawing from holster, I didn't want to do just a draw from holster class, because I've seen a bunch of people that have just those where it's 45 minutes or an hour, and that's literally all they practicing on, drawing from holster, coming out, presenting, and so forth. My thing is just like it's fluid. So why stop at just that when I can work on actual dynamic movement, learning, and so forth? Hell, I'm learning it anyway, so why not bring it and do it again? And I've had a couple like that, and just the advancement of it. So now I can also add that to my shotgun class, my AR class. Now it's not just movement with pistol. Now I can incorporate that movement as well with shotgun, with AR. So now I can do an advanced AR class. I can do advanced shotgun, and it's, like you said, just building off it to bring that education to students.
And, because I'll be creating content. And, me, I started off in the training world, especially in the black community. I was like, look, I want to do something that's different. I'm not going out there, run out there in full attack gear, although I got it. Right. I want to, training and stuff that I wear every day, T-shirt, jeans. You know what I'm saying? I want to train how I get it. And I be trying to, look, man, we got some shooters up here in the North, in the Midwest. Like, we can get down. Like, I get tired of seeing the people in the South showing what they doing. Like, listen, man, we can get down, bro. We can, we can mess with the best of them. That's why I be trying to show, skills, just show my skills on IG or whatever, just to show, like, look, we there's some shooters this way. I'm more concealed carry with mine. I'm, trying to, give some good content so people can say, okay, look, if they DM me, I can say, look, this is what I do. This is what I recommend. I got, people hit me on the DM like, who you recommend in your area that you recommend for a CPL class or training. And then, I shoot the names out. But like I said, bringing that value to your classes, like teaching, like not a CPL instructor, but a teacher, I think that's real dope.
Well, let's be clear real quick. You just said something that was kind of important, and I want to highlight it a little bit. When you say that you're not the instructor that goes out and tack gear and all of that stuff, right? And I ain't on front. I wear cargo pants and all of that.
I do. Okay. Let me rephrase. It's
that's just because we know what it entails to be able to have more pockets.
Yeah, I can like, man.
So yeah.
So, but at the same time, though, when you talk about doing your videos and your jeans and T-shirts or whatever, and the clothing line you created, what you have done that I don't know if you have thought about it in this way, but I have, is you've provided a visual to how accessible it is to the everyday person. Right. So think about it in that context, right? The content that you're creating is showing how accessible that doing this thing is. Like, you got hours and hours of training behind it, right? But you look just like I would look if I'm out on a Saturday afternoon at the grocery store or something.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So by showing that level of accessibility, that's a value in and of itself. So don't sell yourself short on that piece.
Oh no, thank you for picking
there you go.
That boy good. Give me that Randy watch.
That boy good there.
Okay, so let me ask you this question.
Hey, real quick too, KJ, because we coming up on about 10 minutes here for the show, so we gonna get together some good stuff too. I want to get into some good stuff too.
We about to. I want to know. I got it's called a lightning round. Okay. It's called the lightning round. Where we at right now?
Okay.
How much time we got left?
About 10 minutes.
Okay, we're gonna go straight to the lightning round. Dang, the producer. So look,
I'm just telling you, man.
You ain't got time to think about it. I'm gonna ask you a question. All right, some questions. So look, Glock or Canic?
Glock.
Okay. Who riding shotgun, mama or wife?
My wife.
Okay. Malcolm X or MLK?
Oh,
can't think about it.
Martin Luther King X.
Good answer.
We're going to go there.
7.62 or 5.56?
5.56 for availability.
Paper targets or steel targets?
Steel.
Biggie or Pac?
Wu-Tang Clan. It's for the children.
hey, dog.
Hey, man,
listen. On that, dog. That's
Listen. That wasn't on there.
No, but it is what it is, man.
Hey, I got to expose my son to Wu-Tang Clan, man. I got to expose my son.
Front, baby.
I got to expose my son to Wu-Tang Clan.
That's rules, you know.
But you know, it's crazy. Y'all was talking about earlier, man. Like the Canic. Like, what's the like? Okay, I'm an M&P guy, right? I started with Glock. What was your first firearm, Chad?
Mine, it was a Glock 19 I got, and I actually won that Glock 19 from writing a mission statement for the National African American Gun Association.
Give me some claps from that. Give me some claps.
Yeah.
This dude bought a high point. We ain't gonna get into that.
This
Wow.
guy, man, he
Look,
loved to bring that
so what's the deal
up.
with the Canics, man? Because I was telling somebody, look, man, for affordability and what they're offering, the lines and the upgrades and the things that they have on the Canic, like, is the Canic a good platform? Because I haven't shot it yet. I think I was gonna go to the range today and just run a couple off just to see how it shoot. But I know a lot of people like the Canic.
Yeah, Canics are great, man. Especially when you talk about price point, they are probably the most feature-rich guns at their price level, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when you compare it to, say, for example, a SIG, to get all the stuff you would get in a SIG compared to a Canic, for a SIG, you're gonna be at around that $800, $1,000 price point. With a Canic, you might be at around $600, right? $600 or lower. So for the price point and the features that they include, Canic is really, really, they very legit for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have pretty good ergonomics. They got a very solid trigger. They have a little bit more muzzle rise than I would kind of expect for it, right?
Out of a 9mm.
Yeah, a little bit more. Put it this way, it's more muzzle rise in a Canic than it is in a M&P. But M&P has, it is what it is.
I'm just okay.
And this is from like, so you know one of my mentors, Ross Palmer.
Mm-hmm.
He shot my Canic and he shot the M&P 2.0 competitor side by side.
Amen. I got me one.
Right. And so you could see the noticeable muzzle rise in both of those, right? And the Canic just had more muzzle rise. Fantastic trigger. Now my Canic, I put a different trigger in mine. Like even the stock trigger was fantastic, right? But I upgraded my trigger to a Freedom Smith trigger, and it's like it's godly for real.
And I understand that, man, because I'm a Glock CZ guy, and to me, like my P10, look, I put my P10 in my hand, it's like nothing, you know what I'm saying? But and as far as great as that trigger is, I still upgraded it.
Yeah,
and it's a slight upgrade. It's a Hive trigger, and a lot of people think, well, the Hive stuff is just the colors, and that flat face that's on that one, the reset on it is so short, it's ridiculous, and it's man, that's. And it does make a big difference, though. So I'm only saying that to add to that, because a lot of people think, man, Glock perfection, big quotes, but why you got to always change the trigger? It's not just Glocks that people change triggers out. You know what I'm saying? You could have a gun like a Walther or like a CZ, or just from your experience, not mine, but with the Canic having a good trigger, and you still want a better trigger.
Yeah,
you know
it's also good to, and I'm gonna say it's good to see that the industry is kind of leaning towards performance on some of their guns and getting like stuff on it you can buy it right off rip. Like before, I used to take my guns to ATEI and get it Gucci'd up or whatever and triggers. But now you can kind of like, even with the competitor, it got ports on it, it got cuts in it. The trigger on that in M&P, that trigger is a beast out of the box. So it's like its MOS is cut at the top, so you paying a good price.
Right.
You don't have to send it nowhere to get redone. But a lot of other companies with their guns are offering like different, they're offering the upgrades on, and I think they're listening to the community, the people that's buying, and going to like the performance side of it or adding more stuff to it. Like I said, that's a cool thing.
Like you would never even think about it that Glock would do something different with a trigger, but they came out with that Glock performance trigger.
I was just about to say that.
I was going to ask. He said something about that. I got to put my fingers on this.
Here's the thing. I haven't shot one yet, but I've heard good stories about it, and not just from that, but when they came out with the Gen 5, the barrel on the Gen 5, I'm telling you, it is totally different
At what yard did you at what? At 25 yards?
At all of them. The barrel. See, here's my.
I know. I heard that they did upgrade the barrel. I did hear that.
Yeah, they should have done that with the trigger at the same time they did the barrel.
Yeah.
And then because honestly, that would have brought Glock back to the forefront of, look, man, you can say what you want to about Glocks, ugly, blocky, blah, blah, blah. But the difference, see, that's why I want to shoot that new trigger now. The difference in that barrel, it's hard to explain it, but you can definitely tell. If you're a shooter, you can tell the difference between the old polygonal style or whatever it was called, polygonal, versus this new one. You can definitely tell the difference.
It's definitely a difference between the two barrels, and that trigger, I'm telling you.
Have you checked? Is it smooth? Is it smooth like the Zev? You up on? Have you ever? What you compared it to? What can you compare it to?
I would say it's comparable at this point to the trigger in that Walther PDP. And that PDP trigger is
a hell of a trigger, yeah.
Like it's comparable to that.
Because I put that like on a step above them P10 triggers.
Like it's comparable.
And a step under from the shadow triggers and all that. Yeah,
it's comparable to.
It's crazy how
it's really really good. I put it in my 19 and I put it in my 47.
Look, so it's funny that we got 3 instructors here and everybody P10 got the clock. I'm an M&P guy, so it's great to see different perspectives of what your firearm. I get my homeboys and they're like, man, I want to put this that on there, man. My is listen. First of all, shoot the gun. Let's work on your grip.
Right.
Let's work on some fundamental things first.
Right.
If you want to add some of this stuff to it, let's add it. But let's add it for a purpose. You know what I'm saying? Like if you conceal carrying this gun, this is your everyday carry gun that you gonna have to go to war with. I ain't gonna say you want to put everything possible on that firearm. Right. Especially carrying the conceal, you don't want too many snag points. You want to add
all that extra stuff.
Extra stuff. I said some of the things you see on guns are for competition. It's it's race gun stuff. It's not like concealed carry stuff. In my opinion, not just my opinion. You know what I'm saying? Now triggers, I've been kind of spoiled with the M&Ps and the Apex because of ATI Doug and them do it up. So I've been kind of spoiled with it. So like I said, it's just I tell look, let's don't shoot my guns and think I want it like that.
Right.
Because I didn't put some time in, and I didn't shot this 5,000 round, 10,000 round. This gun is different because of the amount of work I put into it. Just shooting it, not like upgrade it. Right. So don't take my firearms as being like what you want. Like shoot your gun, get comfortable with your gun, work on your fundamental stuff, and then let's see what we can add or, you know what I'm saying, you want to do. Don't just jump out the window and say, look, I want this, I want that, because I seen it on YouTube.
Now, one thing I will say, and because I know we're getting even shorter on time here, but just to add to that, there's one thing I will say that I like about some of my students that I've had. So a lot of the guns that I have them shoot for class will be my P10, but it's got the trigger. But it's also my kind of, I don't want to say Gucci or raced up Glock, but it's, it's tuned. You know what I'm saying? I got a different trigger in there. I got a different guide rod in there. It's the Gen 5, so it's got the better barrel, so forth. And I got one dude, matter of fact, I just left seeing my man earlier. He shot it. He didn't even like 9mm. He carried 40 and up. That was it. I said, man, just shoot it. Just try it. Even with the beaver tail on there from the newer ones, he was like, man, I'm about to go buy one of these, and I want you to put it together just like this.
Yeah.
You know what trump all that? When you get new students, just hand them a staccato and say, this shoot.
See, he wanted staccato with him on.
Hey, the staccato shoot itself. I just put ammo in it, man. The staccato shoot itself, bro.
For the price, it better shoot itself.
That's real.
Hey,
I'll say this though, man. To your point, it's always going to be process over products.
Yes.
Right? It's always going to be process over products. To quote my man over at High Caliber Firearms Training, it's process over products all the time. You can add all these different things. It's not going to make your fundamentals better. It's not going to make your fundamentals more solid.
It's not.
It'll be more.
I beg to differ with the staccato.
Okay, well, staccato.
Go ahead.
I might be a cheat code, right? But at the same time, though,
it's the hack.
It's not going to make your fundamentals more fundamentally, right?
Right.
It's not
right. Right.
Fundamentals more fundamentally.
You know what I'm saying? It's not gonna. The products are not going to enhance, the work that you and the progress you get from refining the processes of shooting and the skill sets. Right?
Staccato is like having a Boston during spades.
All right. That's fair.
Hey, okay. So look. Hey, Chad, I want you. We getting short for time here.
Yeah.
So look, tell everybody where they can find you, as far as your company, especially the Black Bottom Gun Club. Cause I'm gonna go pay my money, man. We want people to. I want people to join, cause I want to get out there. It's 100 people. We got 200 people out there training at the Century Gun Club, and shout out to them. I want, like I said, maybe have some classes on Sunday so I can go, man. I work on Saturday, man, and with my son playing baseball and shooting axe, it's just I be like, man, I need to get to especially them lady range days. I really want to get more involved. It's just like man, you said vote on the day. I said Sunday, but then it's all Saturday events.
Yeah, everybody say Saturday.
It is what it is. But go ahead, man. Just let people know where they can find you at, and follow you at, and all your credentials, and so I can post it.
Give me your socials and your website.
For sure. So for the Black Bottom Gun Club, you can go to blackbottomgunclub.com. You can go to Black Bottom Gun Club on IG, right? If you go to Black Bottom Gun Club on Facebook, it's gonna be the same thing, right? For Apex Defense Solutions, you can go to www.apxdef.com. You on IG, you can go to APXDEF. Facebook is the same thing. YouTube is the same thing. APXDEF as well.
Are you on a YouTube game, dude?
Yeah, I got 2 videos on there I put up this week.
No, it's kind of. I'm new to it. It's a little anxiety when you put your stuff out there. But like I said, look, we gonna post all this stuff out. I need people to share, man. And like I said, the Pop Culture 223 podcast is here to give game and train the people that need it. Like I said, just share this information. We need y'all to share it. We need y'all to like it.
Go ahead, give me your socials too, KJ.
My socials, Pop Culture 223 on IG, and it's also Pop Culture 223 on YouTube. So go follow, go subscribe to the channel. Heavy Metal Lifestyle 223 on IG. Go follow that page. I'm posting on both websites. I'm posting on both social media platforms just to get the follows up and the followers and the likes and the comments. So it's gonna be posting on both. So that's it from me, and that's it from Pop Culture 223 today. I want to thank my man Chad for coming out, man, like giving the game. We probably have him back on here because I know you had a lot more to talk about. And my man Dub on the 1s and 2s, he's back.
How you gonna say Dub's back, man? And I'm the Bear, man.
Oh, Dub and the Bear. I'm sorry, the Bear. The Bear's back. The Bear's back. It's a podcast, man. We can say what we want to say.
I knew what you meant, man. I'll just throw it out.
Hey, this is a podcast. We say what we want to say.
I appreciate you for inviting me, man, and it's been a good time. Thank you both for having me here. I appreciate it.
Hey, you was on my list of people to bring in, man. So we got it done.
No doubt.
That's it.
We good.
We out.
We out.